Hi, everybody. We are going to present our research on construction of generative artificial intelligence in the Christian Orthodox communities in Russia. The rise of interest, of social interest to the artificial intelligence tools is highly connected to the mass release of those tools that took place in 2022 that allowed to generate images or texts. But the research interests we can count from many years before. And for example, back in 2010, Hamid Egbia wrote a paper where he describes 50-year history of the study of AI. And he also states that by today, people in AI divide the field into different approaches. And those approaches have different understanding of not only what AI is, but what intelligence means. So that leads to huge variety of what can be defined as AI. To multiply that problem, it's not only a problem, but also the reason for interpretative flexibility of artificial intelligence is the fact that, as Anthony Elliott states, technical specificities of AI, it's embedded in different devices with different interfaces, which makes it much more complicated for a user to realize that he or she is interacting with AI at this moment. So given all that, we are going to analyze the reaction of Russian religious communities to the introduction and dissemination of generative AI. What we're interested in is how Eastern Christian believers perceive this new technology, how they interpret it, in what areas they see its use as acceptable, and how they reflect on their experience of personal interaction with generative AI. We are focused on Eastern Christianity, Russian Orthodox communities, which include followers of the Russian Orthodox Church and Old Believers.
Present-day research that examines the relationship between religious and artificial intelligence can be divided into three large thematic groups: AI in religion, religion in AI, and religion of AI. The first one means how representatives of different religious communities use AI. The second one is devoted to the role the religion plays in the development of AI. And the third group is about AI itself, how it acts as a form of religion, a quasi or para-religious phenomenon. In our research, we are primarily interested in the first of these areas: how religious communities adapt AI technology, how it is understood and used. This issue is considered primarily within the framework of research on digital religion, anthropology of religion, at the intersection of media studies and religious studies. Reviewing the works in the field of digital religion studies, Heidi Campbell and Julia Evolvi highlight among the most relevant areas the issue of artificial intelligence and the challenges it poses for religious communities. They speak about how innovations in artificial intelligence and robotics might alter our understanding of human uniqueness. They also show in review the debates about the nature of humanity in a technologically driven world that can provide both exciting and threatening narratives for religious communities. How technology or technological practices may themselves be judged to have religious-like qualities or behaviors associated with them. And what is also important, they show some researches that technologies can have both technological affordances, design features encouraging certain user practices, and religious affordances, narratives and features that cultivate certain religious identities and meanings within the religious context. Can you please show the next slide? And also among the important researchers in this field, I'd like to highlight the researchers on positive role of AI in interreligious dialogue and some important empirical data from different religious contexts. And you see here on the slide some of the works focused on Middle East and artificial intelligence and issues connected with it concerning the Vatican position.
So getting to our theoretical framework, we examine generative artificial intelligence through the lens of social construction of technology. The key notions here are the relevant social groups, which means that it's important what group perceives this or that technology. And the second one is interpretive flexibility, which means that technology can be used in different ways, and it's a social dimension of technology that lies in the ways that this or that technology is used. So we assume that the followers of the Russian Orthodox Church and all believers within their communities use a description of generative AI that are specific for them, but vary for different groups. And we are going to explore how this works in particular. As for the data that we used for this research, the data were downloaded from the Medialogia database. It's one of the largest Russian language media databases. And when forming the corpus of materials, we relied on the query, which included query to the database, which included mentions of keywords from two groups. So the first group was related to frequent queries related to generative AI, and the second one was related to religious movements, where we included not only the mentioned groups, the groups that we're focused on, but also other religious groups like Muslims or Jews, to have the complete context of how AI is mentioned. And we also added the technical requirement for co-occurrences of keywords from these two groups at a distance of no more than 25 words to make sure that these keywords are actually semantically connected to each other. As a result, we had more than um, 3,000 messages that we have analyzed. And this data was collected for the period from the 1st of January to the 31st of December 2023, because that's the year when Russian users were not only became familiar with international AI tools, generative AI tools, but also got access to domestic tools developed by Russian companies, Yandex and Sberbank. And we are focused on analyzing social media posts to be sure that we hear the voices of the users, which lies within the framework of Scott approach. And here I'm moving slightly to our results, to the results that we got, and due to the limited timing, we will just show the general overview of the most frequent words that we encountered in our corpus, and also the most popular platforms, and then we will switch to several cases. So as for the data corpus, you can see the most frequent words that were in our corpus of posts that we have collected. And it's you can see I'm sorry, the words are in Russian. That's just because our data corpus is in Russian, but I'll translate the most important parts for you. So the first group of words that are associated with AI are like technical features like neural networks, Midjourney, ChatGPT technologies, bot, robot, internet, network, Yandex, that's the name of the company, site, program, etc. The second group of the words that draws our attention is connected to religion, which is quite obvious. God, Lord, church, faith, prayer, service, temple, etc. And these two groups are the most frequent ones. They have, if we count them as groups, they have more words than other groups. But what's also interesting and less expected probably is the appearance of a group of words that have a value load, such as honor, love, hope, path, as well as mention of family members like wife, father, son, friends, or friend. Or also another group of words that refer to what we can call, with some degree of conventionality, markers of identity, such as culture, memory, history, home, country, etc. These words can be considered as an illustration of the thesis that generative AI has a set of affordances that allowed it to create religious meanings and identities through interaction with this technology, because that's what people mention when they actually have this kind of experience. And along with that, it's also worth mentioning that there is quite a big group of references to the functional relation to AI. The words like opportunity, solution, use, project, company are quite common. This means that despite the religious context that we have set, and I have described it during the previous slide, the perception of AI as a technology that can be used for various non-religious purposes is also encountered. It's important to emphasize that forming this general idea how AI can be applied, this functional part works unattained, untouched. So people feel like they can still use it if it's for not for religious, but for everyday usage. As for the platforms, if we divide our data month by month, we will see that there is no platform that would be leading during the whole year. And so the leading platforms, by platforms, I mean personal accounts or groups or public pages in the social media. So there is no one that would be leading through the year. But we can see some of them that would be leading just 2 or 3 months of the whole year. And one of the example is a Telegram group devoted to AI art, where from time to time we could see the pictures generated, images generated regarding religious topic. And what you see on the slide at the moment is one of such posts from that group. It was posted on 27th of October 2023, and it depicts a heartly prayer, how it was described, a heartly prayer of a futuristic man. Yeah, and as for the cases, so one of the most representative case for the Russian Orthodox Church here would be a very specific usage of images that are associated with AI. What you see on the slide is an image used in one of the religious apps developed for teenagers that follow Russian Orthodox Church. The app actually describes different situations that can happen to a teenager in a church. And in the development of this app, the team wanted to use artificial intelligence to create images for that app to make it more appealing for teenagers. But their problem with that process was that they were not satisfied with any image they could get from any AI tool they had access to. So they tried different tools, not only Midjourney, but also Russian tools and other international tools, and none of them seemed appropriate. And I'm quoting here, right? So what they did to keep that appealing part of AI usage, but also not to mix up the religious meanings they wanted to show, to represent, they actually hired an artist who to whom they set a task to create illustration in the style as if AI would draw it. So it was actually a real human artist who draw pictures in the style of AI.
The posts of all believers in the obtained data corpus are primarily related to the experience of interaction with generative AI. These are individual messages about generating images or improving photographs using a neural network. For example, in the group, you see it on the slide. In the group All Believers of the World, in March 2023, a request for an assessment of the work with AI was published. And in this picture on the slide, you can see that the author is asking, how is it? Is it good? Is it interesting? In addition, can you please show the next slide? In addition to generating images, AI was used to create audio versions of the books related to the All Believers theme. The authors not only shared links to the corresponding audiobooks, but also commented on the work of the AI. At first, it sounds not for everyone, but by the third book, the divinely inspired intellect will adjust. At the end of the post, the author emphasized the contrast between the voices of robots and the people. And it's also interesting that in personal communication and during interviews, all believers share their practices of interaction with generative AI, and most often they talk about the regular use of ChatGPT as an assistant. But usually they prefer not to report this in the public place, so not to write posts on this topic on personal pages in social media. Now, if we speak a few words about general conclusions or some preliminary results of our work, we can say that our data analysis reveals that the majority of discussions within Orthodox communities in Russia are focused on establishing the boundaries of the application of generative AI and identifying associated dangers. Despite these concerns, the utilitarian use of AI remains unaffected, with the boundary of the permissible use outlined in the sphere of religious meanings. The set of practices for using generative AI is currently quite narrow among different representatives of Christian communities in Russia. The most common practice is at the moment the generation or processing of images. And these findings are significant as they provide a comprehensive understanding of the current state of AI adoption in religious communities. We would also like to emphasize that today there is a gap between the practices of using neural networks and their discussion on the public space, because a number of practices that can be discussed in personal conversations are not brought to the public and remain invisible in the social media field. So at this point, we would like to thank you for your attention and say that we would be happy to discuss this paper and these preliminary results with you on Thursday. So thank you for your attention.